So this happened to me a couple years ago, but I had completely forgotten about it until now. So did my boyfriend, who was present at the time. First, I'll explain the context to you. I don't believe in God, and I'm very down to earth, though I'm very interested in paranormal stories, especially if it happened to someone close to me. I'm always asking friends and relatives to tell me ghost stories or weird paranormal stuff that has happened to them. Never in my life did I witness anything paranormal, at least until the summer of 2012. I'm writing about this now because, as I said earlier, I had never thought about it before, and now I want answers. So it's July 2012, and I'm off with my boyfriend on vacation. He inherited a small island in Brittany, France. It's situated a few kilometers south off the coast of Brittany, and you can only get there with a ferry. It's pretty small, and only a few people live there all year long. There's not much to do, but it's really beautiful, and it's a nice place for a quiet vacation. We like to go for rides during the day and as well as in the nighttime. So one night, a clear night that was doused in moonlight, we went out around midnight for a ride on the island. As we used to do so, we headed to the beach, whose name I can't remember, that goes along a small family vacation village. It is situated in a big curve, bordered on a small road. The village road and the village are situated on some kind of steep cliff. To go down to the beach, you have to walk down sheer narrow stairs. My boyfriend and I were standing by the road and on the strip of sandgrass for like 10 minutes, looking down at the sea. I need to point out that it was a calm, clear night, and we hadn't seen anyone during our ride. We were walking along the beach for a while and hadn't noticed anything strange, nor signs of human presence on the beach. No night swimmers. The water was very cold in Brittany, even in the summer. No young people having a party on the beach, etc. So we were standing on a cliff, facing the sea, when suddenly, straight ahead of us, we saw a human-shaped figure get out of the water and hurry across the beach. I know it's nothing scary so far, except the figure was pitch black and was not reflecting any light, like a dark shadow. We first thought it was someone skinny dipping. The problem is, when you're going out to sea, you first swim to the edge of the sea, then you stand up and walk out of the water. This figure gradually went out. All the time, though, it was still standing tall, as if it was walking on the bottom of the ocean. My boyfriend and I had been looking at the water for a while and never noticed anyone swimming, as if it was totally immersed for at least 10 minutes. After seeing that, I felt really uncomfortable, and to say the least, I was really freaked out. So was my boyfriend, who was not easily scared. The weirdest part is once the human-shaped figure got out of the water, it headed straight ahead to the foot of the cliff where we were standing. But it wasn't walking or running. It was sliding on the sand, like really fast. A pitch-black human shape with an indistinguishable face and features, sliding extremely fast on the sand, almost gliding, not moving its legs or anything, leaving no trail of footsteps behind. We stared at it silently until it got a few meters away from the foot of the cliff. Then, without talking, we decided to get the heck out of Dodge, still with this feeling of dread and fear. We never saw or heard of this creature again, and nothing strange has happened during the rest of our vacation. My boyfriend, however, has witnessed strange things along the island before, but nothing that's related to this story. It all started when we first moved in. We noticed that certain parts of the apartment were always freezing, even though it was in the summer. It was as if we were in a cold basement or something. Next came the noises. They were faint and barely noticeable, but after a while, I guess you can catch on to them. The sound started as a tapping noise when I was lying in bed. I would get up, looking all over the room for the cause, but never could find anything. It wasn't as if it was a tap dripping. It was more as if someone was sitting there, tapping their fingers on the wall repeatedly. I could live with these noises. After a while, I got used to them, and so did my roommates, who were hearing the same noises I was. They didn't stay this innocent, though. Soon they transpired into full-on bangs on the wall, right above my head. I would jump out of bed, expecting there to be a hole in the wall, but there was nothing. It was as if I had imagined the whole thing. I would have believed it if my roommates didn't hear it as well. After this started happening, we all started to feel a bit strange, being in the apartment alone. It was as if someone was always watching us. If you were to sit in the living room, we would feel as if someone was standing right behind us, breathing on our necks. Just sitting alone was enough to make me terrified. We looked on the internet for what it might be, but we really couldn't nail anything down to a conclusion. Anyway, you will all probably think that we are really stupid for what I'm about to tell you, and you may be right. It was the worst choice we had ever made, and if we could take it back, we would. Someone suggested to us that we try to make contact with whatever it was. We were pretty sure that it was something supernatural or paranormal at this point. We weren't sure at first, but after things continued to get worse, with things falling off the counters, TVs turning on and off in the night, and even hearing noises of someone call our names, only to find out that the person we thought was calling us were actually asleep. My roommate knew someone who had a Ouija board that we could borrow. Going into it, we all had agreed that we would not mess with each other by spelling out something on the board, and we could all be trusted as we just wanted to know what was going on. We waited until 3 a.m. because that was supposed to be the witching hour and began to ask questions. We asked if anyone was there for our first question, which I guess was a pretty obvious one. Nothing happened straight away. We sat there in silence for about 10 seconds afterwards when it began to move and went to the word yes. We all began to pretty much crap our pants at this point because I said we could all be trusted not to mess with each other, and so we knew that this was the real deal. We asked what their name was and got no response. We asked if they were friendly, but got no response. We asked why they were here, and we finally got a response. Jessica. That's what it spelled. Everybody was pretty confused at this point. None of our names are Jessica, but this name had a lot of meaning to me. I instantly asked another question. Jessica, is that you? A reply came back, no. I began to fire off questions, not explaining to my roommates. What do you mean, Jessica? Do you know where she is? I was in tears at this point, terrified by what the answer was going to be. Yes. The answer was yes. This thing knows where my little sister is. She went missing 5 years ago, and there was no signs of where she went. Tell me where she is right now. I started to get angry. This thing knows where she is, and I needed to know. The answer that came back was not the one that I wanted. It spelled out, with me. I stopped speaking at this point, horrified by the answers. We sat in silence until someone in the group gasped and began to cry. I didn't notice it at first, but when I did, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. There was an extra shadow on the wall, one that didn't belong to any of us, and it didn't look human. As soon as we had realized it, it was gone. Nobody had really slept since. My sister has been missing for 5 years, and I need to find out what happened to her, more than ever now. I'm going back to my parents' house tomorrow to look through her things for any clues. This is something that happened to me and my sister when we were young. I was about 9 years old and she was about 7. We lived in my grandparents' house in a small village in the mountains. Growing up, we had experienced many paranormal/ghost encounters. This one in particular really stuck out to me though. My sister would wake up very early in the morning, around 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. She would then wake me up. Our room was always very dark. When she wakes me up, she would tell me that there was someone in our room. Someone was moving our shoes and talking in weird voices. We would both sit there very scared and listen to these things happen. I always tried to calm my sister down because she was always more scared than me. I would tell her that it was nothing and we should go back to sleep. We shut our eyes and try to go to sleep, but these voices would get louder and become very mean. Everything goes black like we went to sleep or something. I can't make up in my mind what had happened. Sometime after that, I would come back or wake up and look over at my sister, and she would be shaking uncontrollably, hovering above her bed. From what I can remember, it looked like she was about a foot above the bed. This freaked me out, so I started screaming as loud as I can, calling for my dad to come in the room. My dad walked into the room, and the look on his face was priceless. He knew there was something wrong. He would start to try to wake up my sister, or push her down on the bed to wake her up. Near the end of this, We would hear a really loud scream, then my sister stopped shaking and hovering above the bed. She woke up crying and screaming. She was extremely scared. This didn't only happen once. This happened about every single night for a week, with every night getting scarier. My dad didn't know what to do. We took my sister to the doctor and hospitals and had a bunch of tests done, thinking that she was sick, and the doctors came back and said that she was very healthy. Now that I'm 20 years old, I asked my father what he remembered from those nights, and he would tell me that he can't explain what had happened and that we shouldn't think about things like that. I asked my sister what she can remember. She said that when she would wake me up and we both hear voices and things moving, we both blacked out, but she would be awake and paralyzed in her bed, and she would feel something taking over her body and nothing else until she is woken up by our dad. To this day, me and my sister talk, and we share some experiences each of us has had. Like some nights, when we would be falling asleep, we would see a shadow standing there, or we would turn our heads and see someone standing behind us.